Hi, I'm John,
Andrew.
and welcome to episode 5 of the Nerdborne podcast. We're taking a bit of a departure, a little bit of a different change. We're still, talking about some of our favorite things, having our little nerd out as we do, but we decided to shift away from the topic of video games, and well, I should say Andrew decided to shift away from the topic of video games because he's been busting nuts left and right about when are we doing the comic book episode? When are we doing the comic book episode? When are we doing the comic book episodes? We're doing the comic book episode. But more
Comic book
specifically,
episode.
do you hear the sheer jubilation in his voice? But we
Yeah.
wanted to talk about, some of our favorite characters in comic books. And since I happen to have a bit of a weakness, my only really exposure to the comic books is the Marvel movies. Yes, please, just don't hang me. Uh, we're going to we're going to pivot a little bit, and Andrew's got some comic book characters he'd like to talk about. I'm going to talk about Japanese comic books, aka manga, which 90% of all of them have been turned into anime, so it's our favorite comic book characters and favorite anime characters. So, Andrew, if I went first, I imagine you would probably just die. So, you know what? Just get it out of your system.
Dude, I've been waiting for so long to talk about comic books and people to listen to me. I don't know. I'm kind of stuck here. No, I'm just kidding. I know exactly what the fuck I'm leading off with. Leading off with one of my favorite comic book characters of all time, man. And he's been in a lot of movies. He's had a show on Netflix, and it is The Punisher. And I
Mm.
have got the ultimate motherfucking line. The reason why Punisher is just a badass character. All right. Punisher walks into a bar. All right.
Hmm.
Here's the joke. Yeah, Punisher walks into a bar. But no, Punisher walks into a bar full of New York's baddest villains. Bullseye, Kingpin, Sandman, etc. Just like all the badasses in comic books. Anybody knows anything about comic books.
Mm.
Castle pretty much just takes a look around and he's like, it says, quote unquote, gentlemen, they say that when you die, you can't take it with you, which begs the question exactly what am I going to do with all these bullets? If that does not make you think that Bad Punisher is badass, nothing will, man. Like, Punisher is just like he is such a badass character through to his fucking core. Punisher is so badass that when Ghost Rider stared at him with his pendant stare, it didn't even affect him. That's how cold this son of a bitch is. You know what I mean? Like he's just the epitome of badass. We're not gonna really talk too much about the live adaptions on this episode. I thought that that deserved a much more in-depth kind of episode to talk about like live adaptation of comic books and movies and stuff like that. Because obviously it's been such a huge thing for the past like what 2 decades now.
Mm.
So I'm gonna try to stay divert away from that and just mainly talk about comics and then when we talk about why these are my favorite characters and obviously one of the reasons why Punisher is my favorite character is because that badass line I just gave you. There's even I remember when I was reading a comic book. Can't remember what series it was, but I was reading it, and for some reason, Captain America was pissed off at the Punisher. You know, Punisher killed somebody. Captain America's not about the killing, and Punisher just started. I mean, Captain America rather. I'm sorry. Just started laying off on the Punisher. You just started beating the living shit out of him. I mean, obviously Frank Castle, he doesn't have any superpowers, you know what I mean? So even if he really wanted to, he's not going to do anything to Captain America. But still, he just sat there and took the beating, you know? And people were like, why aren't you fighting back? He's like, I got too much respect for Captain America. He's like, I'm going to lay a finger on him regardless. I'm like, man. I was like, who, who's got character like that? You know what I mean? For Frank Castle's just one of those dudes that when you read about when you're a kid, you're like, man, I hope to grow up to be him.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like the Punisher is like always going to be one of my favorite characters, man. If anybody's not like read any of his Punisher comic books, and if you not don't have like a weak stomach, I would highly suggest picking up some kind of Punisher comic books, man, because he's great storytelling. He's it's hard to describe for people that don't like really know Punisher, but if like say like if Batman decided that he wanted to kill and
Mm.
be a cold-blooded motherfucker, that's basically what the Punisher is.
And I know a little bit of the Punisher, just from association. Always just kind of, I guess, having a foot in comic books, because like they always sort of fascinated me, but I never grew up anywhere near a comic store or whatnot, and of course, growing up,
um,
didn't really have disposable income. But
uh,
I always knew of the Punisher as, I guess, kind of like the hardcore, the adult comic book, and I gotta
the
say, like,
anti. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh, you're good. I, it's an interesting character, I guess, but it also seems like it has the potential for a lot of, I guess, like popcorn or filler stuff. Not really telling a narrative. Would you say the Punisher is a lot more narrative heavy, or is it a little bit more about spectacle?
Well, we're already talking comic books, man. There's so many story arcs. I mean, you could get one of the two out of any. Like, you could go like one story arc could have like which a former, and the other story arc could have the latter.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like, just in general, it's got a great mix. It's got a great mix of why the Punisher is the way he is. I mean, obviously they got the movies out there. They give you the basic backstory, which they don't really stick to the source material too much, but that's a basic thing. You know, a guy's family gets killed, he turns cold blooded and decides that people that kill and people that do bad things don't deserve to live. This is
mm,
basically what the Punisher is. The only thing I've never liked that they've never really shown, they did it kind of in Netflix a little bit, but they've never really shown just how slick of a motherfucker he really is. Like
ah,
they really have yet to show that. Like he is, like I said, that's the reason why I gave him that Batman kind of like analogy, because he's really good at like what you call quote unquote prep time. Like
okay.
he's like one of the kings when it comes to that in the Marvel comics.
Ah,
I mean, I can see where you're coming off of where it's kind of like a murder porn or some stuff like that. And like,
mm-hmm,
yeah, there is comic books when it comes to the Punisher where it could be like that, but the majority of it's not like that. The majority of it's a good mix of just pure badassery, man. It's
ah,
just
okay.
yeah, just these people are selling children. They don't deserve to live. I'm gonna shove a shotgun up their ass and explode it. You know what I mean? Like it, guys like he's just ruthless, man. That's another thing they never really like really portrayed that well. He's just cold to the core, man. Like for instance, like I told you about like the Ghost Rider stuff, Pentness Stare. I know you're not a comic book reader, but anybody out there that does read comic books knows this that Pentness Stare gets everybody. You know, anybody
Mm-hmm,
that's ever had just a shed of regret, a shed of like I've done something wrong or I've been bad or any kind of that. If there's like a point one of that in your soul, that Pentness Stare is gonna rob you. It's gonna turn you into stone. It didn't do anything to Frank Castle. He looked at him, and Frank Castle's like, "Is something supposed to happen now?" Like, dude, how badass can you be, bro? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Also,
how
I
much?
do. Oh, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, how much of a badass do you have to be to get the penitence there from Ghost Rider and just be like, huh, neat.
Yeah, no shit, right? Also, there is something that we didn't say that we definitely got to point out, and we're going to be putting it in the comments just so people know there will be spoilers. If you've not picked up any of these comic books, if you've not like watched any of these animated characters that we've talked about, there are gonna be spoilers. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Can't. Yeah, there's no way we can talk about it and avoid it.
So there will be a list down in the comments about the franchises that we're talking about. If you don't want anything spoiled, thanks for listening thus far. Honestly, I might just have to cut this and put it in the front of the video, but I digress. Um, yeah, if you don't want to hear spoilers, thank you for listening. Catch us next week or check out J&A.
Yeah. A lot of the things that I'm bringing up are basically just well, quote unquote feats. You
Mm,
know what I mean? Just like they're not really spoilers to any storylines, but at the same time, they could be. So
Right.
if it, like if any of the characters are popping up that talking about it, say if you just get past the spoiler part, you do listen to this, and the character sounds interesting to you. Trust me, there's still plenty of depth into these comics that you could pick up, and I have not spoiled anything. That much I assure you.
Hmm.
So now that I have done jerked off about Punisher, let's hear what character you get.
All right. Since we're starting off with comic books, or you know what? No, fuck it. We're you did a comic book. I'm doing anime because frankly, that's the only thing I've got left.
And yeah,
But
you're pretty. I don't almost say you're damn near an expert on it, to be honest with you.
I have been i- watching anime for a long ass time, and
Yeah, yeah.
don't watch too much anymore. That's it. Work's been crazy, stuff like that. But that's a whole other issue. But there's something about the Punisher that you mentioned that I do appreciate, and that's that he is the kind of cold and calculating, like the whole prep time thing. He's basically a murdery version of Batman. But
Uh-huh.
one thing, or I wanted to connect from the Punisher with another cool customer, someone who's just really badass in their franchise, and that is Soma Shirayuki from Food Wars.
Huh.
Have you
Uh,
watched Food Wars?
no, not at all.
Huh. Well, I guess I'll give you a brief description, you and the listeners.
Hmm.
Basically, it's like if Dragon Ball Z, but with
Hmm.
food.
Okay. What?
I love that reaction. Okay, imagine if you will, instead of shooting a Kamehameha, Goku served a nice steak and a salad, and the enemy tasted that and realized that he was defeated.
So, like, kitchen nightmares?
Uh, no.
I tried.
Iron Chef.
Okay.
But one thing I really like about Soma, and I kind of want to take, a sort of narrative critical bend to this, is the way they use him in the story, because he's or what's commonly called uh, the the fake underdog. Like, Soma is always presented in the narrative as being the underdog against whoever he's going up against, but he's not. He's literally just as competent and just as skilled, and you see him put in all the work. And one thing that I appreciate about Food Wars is that when as the story progresses, you can kind of see that sort of narrative through line in the dishes that he presents. Um, but yeah, that's it. He's one of those cold, calculating customers that he knows what the hell's he's doing, and if you give him prep time, he will smoke anybody in a food war.
Um. So there's like, is there like any? Does he fight, or like, do they fight over food, or is it just like that just serving food back and forth, and who's the better chef?
It's the main format is that excuse me, um, two opponents, if you will, both prepare dishes for a panel of judges, and then those judges determine who's better or not. And kind of or I guess the draw of Food Wars is that they do it in a way that's kind of almost like Dragon Ball or
Hmm.
uh, Naruto. The like each chef has like a specialty dish or some kind of superpower. Like you've got one character who's got this amazing nose and he can smell, and the way he makes his food is that it's this intricate interplay of all the scents from all of his ingredients and shit like that.
Uh, that sounds interesting. Somewhere out there, there's a geek sitting there listening to this that watches Iron Chef and Dragon Ball Z. Never heard of this, and like something like this exists.
Like it is a fusion dance between freaking any competition cooking show and Dragon Ball Z. Feud,
Hey,
Jean,
it sounds
hot.
original. Like I've never heard anything like this.
I think, or Food Wars made a lot of waves in anime and manga, just the industry in general, because it is really kind of a unique concept. Like there's been cooking manga and stuff like that before, but never quite in this presentation.
Okay,
Mm.
that's pretty cool. Like I said, I definitely like so. So it's like, what's the guy's name again? I'm sorry.
Soma,
Okay, is he like is he the protagonist?
yes.
Okay, and is it just like he's basically like the Gordon Ramsay of the show?
No, but he cooks for Gordon Ramsay and makes him not swear.
Really? I
Mm.
like him already. That's a feat that no human being has ever done.
Gordon Ramsay would walk up on Soma and he would just put the fork down and just go, "It passes."
That's awesome, dude.
Mm.
That is awesome. Oh, how could somebody that's interested in this find this?
Crunchyroll, not sponsored.
Okay.
Uh, let's face it, anime is or Crunchyroll nowadays is the one source for anime. Again, not sponsored, so I'm not going to sit here and suck their cock. Not unless, hey, Crunchyroll, if you want to get in contact with us, sponsorship deal. But yeah, let's face it, if you're looking for or your Food Wars got incredibly popular, so if you know where to go for anime, then you're probably going to be able to find it there.
Okay. All right. Um, just in case like any of the listeners wondering, like when it comes to like we did like the comic book anime thing, um, I'm just as much into anime as John is in the comic books and vice versa. Like, so that's
More
the
or
reason
less.
I like, yeah, basically like if you want to talk about an anime, he's the guy to go to. If you want to talk about comics, I'm the guy to go to. So that's the reason why I like poking questions around like that. And like, there's just only so much, there's so much nerd stuff out there. There's only so much time in the day, man, you know?
Mm,
Uh, especially there is a lot of anime. I wish that I keep hearing great things about, and keep wishing that I had the time to like get into them. And sometimes if I do, sometimes I don't. It just is what it is.
mm,
No, but to go on to a character that that's actually become kind of popular recently, but it's not been that popular. At least when I was growing up and reading them and
mm.
watching them, he wasn't that popular. It's the Flash, and
Nah.
more particular, yeah, the more particularly because there's more than one Flash. We're talking about characters. I'm talking about Barry Allen, the original, the
Mm,
OG. Yes, he is. He's always gonna probably be in my top five list. He's done in DC Comics, man. Like they make their characters so damn strong, it's hilarious. Like he's practically a god now. Like
mhm,
the guy moves so damn fast. It's it's incredible. Like one of the things I've always loved about Barry Allen is he's just an epitome of a hero. You know,
mm,
Barry Allen's the guy that's going to sacrifice himself each and every time just so one person he doesn't even know can live. Like Barry Allen's that guy that's going to go out there and put his life on the line just so he could save a city or anything like that. When you think about hero, he's going to be one of those people that pop up.
mm,
On top of that, his power is just awesome. He being able to use the speed force and travel as fast as he flipping travels. There's some I could go on and on about how fast, how ridiculously fast this dude is. I mean, they just make it to the point where it's just like, how can anybody even beat this guy? You know what I mean? Like,
mm,
it's also one of the reasons why I like the character because of how he does get beat often. Just kind of makes sense. We'll get further more about that later. But for now, we're talking about Barry Allen. Like just some of the just to give people a perspective of how fast Barry Allen has run or how fast he can run. One time he outran death. And
mm,
I don't mean death of like, oh, he's about to die in DC. That's an actual figure that comes and gets you, you know, with a Green Reaper kind of thing. And the
mm,
motherfucker outran death. Like, another time, he saved an entire city from a nuclear explosion while the explosion was happening. I don't know how fast. Like I am not a mathematician, but you could like Speed of
Speed of
light
light.
is like, yeah, that's beyond the speed of light.
There's nothing faster than, or well, yes, the Flash was going faster than the speed of light, but a nuclear
Yeah,
explosion, I believe, happens at the speed of light.
yeah. I mean, there is something that they call it like nanoseconds to how fast he travels or something like that.
Mm,
Remember, there's the when it comes to we're talking about science fiction here. Physics is out the window.
yeah.
There is something that travels faster than the speed of light in DC Comics, and his name is Barry Allen. Another time, he was actually one of the coolest things that happened. I remember when I was reading was cool when I was a kid that I thought was really cool is that he was getting a therapy session as Barry Allen,
Mm,
his and he could hear down the street that the fire was happening in the building. So he traveled so fast he went and saved everybody from the fire in the building, but he was traveling so fast back and forth that his therapist didn't even know he left the couch.
wow.
He was sitting there he was sitting there having a therapy session. The guy's traveling so fast back and forth. They didn't even, therapist didn't even know he left. Like, didn't even see him move. That's how fast the guy was traveling. That's just ridiculous, dude.
I don't know if that's him just going fast or if the comic book's just going physics schmizics.
Oh yeah, dude. Come on, dude. Comic books do that
No.
all the time. They make their physics. You know what I mean? Like, it gets even worse when you get into people like the Beyonder, if we go into like Franklin Richards, where they just like warp reality to how they see fit. That's another discussion. But anyways, Barry Allen, yes. And
Mm,
okay, this one is going to be a spoiler. So there is a comic book arc. I think it's called Into the Multiverse. I know they just did it this kind of a story on the CW with all the Flash and Green Arrow shows they had, and they
mm,
completely fucked it up. They like literally just spread their butt cheeks and like crapped all over the storyline, and they completely
ooh.
messed it up. But anyways, I think it's called Into the Multiverse Part 8, but the Flash sacrificed himself by giving himself up to the Speed Force to stop the Anti-Monitor, he could save all the multiverses.
Mm,
Like when you see something like when you read something like that as a kid, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, man, what more could what more could a person do to be a superhero? You know what I mean?
mm,
It's just stuff like that is the reason why Barry Allen will always be in my top five. Um, there's obviously a different story. He's becoming a little bit more popular. He's been in like the Justice League movie recently. He's got the show now, which the show wasn't that bad in the beginning, but man, that's a whole another topic. But
mm,
I hope he does keep picking up steam and they eventually do a live action and give him justice because he's a really great character.
mm.
So
Uh, I guess, or since, or I guess anyway. Kind of the theme, I guess, is that's it. We're two off outsiders, talking about our favorite characters because that's it. Like Andrew said, he knows about as much about anime as I do about comic books. The Flash is one of those though that yeah, I don't really know the specifics, but one thing that I've always kind of been aware of when it came to the Flash is just okay, yeah, he's kind of the original speedster, but like his powers in a way have kind of evolved with our understanding of science here in the real world. Like, I understand like he can do things like vibrate his molecules, which is complete bullshit, but well, yeah, physics. To phase through walls and just all sorts of crazy things that, he can do just because of sheer speed. And
uh-huh.
a lot of that is, informed by just our modern understanding of science.
Yeah, yeah, I can get that.
I
Um,
do think that's really interesting.
yeah, yeah, that is true. Like you said, there when it comes to comic books, the physics, yeah, that shit's out the window. I mean, you get
Mm,
Superman that like literally holds up the world for like what is it, like a week or something like that. Like, goodbye physics.
mm,
You know what I mean? But yeah, when it comes to Barry Allen, he's not even really the fastest. Well, Wally West, which is technically Barry Allen's nephew.
Hmm.
However that works out. Yeah, it's a weird relationship or whatever. But Wally West, which yeah, takes on the mantle after he dies. Actually, more than once. You know, comic book characters. They die, they come back. They die
Hmm.
again, they come back. Yeah, so on and so forth. What the hell ever. But anyways, Wally West has actually had better feet, speed feats,
Sorry.
as you will. You're okay.
Hmm.
Speed feats, as you will, that Barry Allen has. But Barry Allen's always considered the most dangerous Flash because of his wits. He's smart.
Hmm.
He knows how to outthink his opponent. In fact, his counterpart, his antagonist, as you will, Professor Zoom. He's one of the smartest characters in DC. I mean, he's not up there like Brainiac and Lex and all, and Bruce Wayne and all that, but he's a super genius. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And the countless times, man, his Flash outwitted him. And
Hmm.
don't get me wrong, Zoom's got the better of him with you. Like that's a whole podcast episode in its own. But that's one of the things that makes Barry Allen also a great hero too, is his wits. He knows how to think outside the box.
Hmm.
So, I'm this is actually one of the characters that I've been really looking forward to bringing up because people are starting to like him, but they don't really know anything about him. And then, like, if anything at all I said sounds interesting to you, please go out there and read some Flash comic books because they're flipping awesome. He's an awesome character, and he really does deserve a lot of love, man. So, I hope you guys I hope I at least get one person out there to pick up a Flash comic.
Definitely think about checking them out. Like that's it. I've always, like I said earlier, I've always kind of had an interest in comic books. Just availability has always been an issue for me. But
Hey,
that's
I get
pa-
that.
yeah. Then hey, I mean that's part of the reason we do these is we want to introduce our listeners and each other to new shit.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely.
since we're talking about empowered smart boys, people who really use their wits or intuition to augment their powers rather than solely relying on their powers. I guess that kind of brings me to my next character, and that is Izuku Midoriya, or Deku, from My Hero Academia.
It's funny because the what I was just saying is I've heard many great things about different animes and just never come around to watching them, and here's one of them.
Hmm. Uh, Let me just suck the cock of My Hero Academia a little bit. Just let me throw this out here. It it really is kind of like the next generation anime because it really it builds off of things like Dragon Ball and Full Metal Alchemist, Hunter x Hunter, stuff like that. It really takes all of the lessons learned individually in those series and really kind of brings it together.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
hmm?
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh. The reason I want to talk about Deku is because the main appeal of him is that he is just a very intelligent person and a person that really wanted to be a hero, but he was born without superpowers in a world where everybody is born without or with superpowers. And he basically obtains his superpowers from a mentor figure, All Might. But the thing that wins Deku his fights isn't his powers, which are basically uh, imagine if you will, he can kind of go Super Saiyan for limited amounts of time,
Oh,
but at the risk of injuring himself. And well, he gets better, but
right,
uh,
right.
it's really that's it. His intelligence, his planning. He's like the first smart hero that isn't his defining feature. Like he's got the brains of like your uh Richard Reed. Is it Reed Richard or Richard Reed? Fantastic Four.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Richard Reed. Okay, you're messing me up now.
You're supposed to be the
It,
comic book
it's
dude.
yeah, I am the comic book guy. It's Franklin Reed. Oh God
No,
damn
it's
it!
not Franklin Reed.
No,
Mr.
no, no, no.
Elastic.
I'm thinking about his son for some damn weird Reed. It's Reed Richards.
Reed Richards. Okay,
Thank
but
you. Jesus Christ, wait, I cannot get that out.
he's got that kind of chess master aspect to him, and he uses his powers in order to make sure that he can execute his plan rather than needing his powers to be able to do fucking anything.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
And like, I guess also one thing that I really enjoy about it is you can see a very kind of clear, thorough line through his character. Like, the only thing he wanted to be was a hero, and he had all the attributes he needed to be a hero, but the superpowers. He didn't have the superpowers in a universe, full of them. And when you see, or when he does finally get his superpower, or it happens fairly early anyway, when he does get his superpower, you really see him just start to completely blossom as a character, and it's interesting to see him use his intellect to figure out how to use his powers. Uh, because that's it. He didn't grow up with him. He's doing the whole I'm a superhero on hard mode.
Huh, I can get that. He sounds like an interesting character. You got me intrigued.
Uh, like I said, My Hero Academia, for someone like me that's really critical minded, um, i it's a fantastic show just because it's really built on the history of shonen anime.
It's pretty interesting, man. I've like I said, I've heard many great things about it. It's just one of those ones I haven't got around to watch yet. Yet. I say yet, because I most likely will, especially after you describe that character so well.
Oh yeah, that's definitely check it out. So, who do you got next? Lay it
Um,
on me.
well, the character I got next is basically the same thing. Oh, it came with the Flash. He's Green Lantern, okay. But well, like I'm saying, we're talking about
Mm,
favorite characters. And if you're a Jonathan Stewart fan, I don't hate it. I like Jonathan Stewart. I like Kyle. But my personal favorite Green Lantern is Hal Jordan.
mm,
Um, many reasons why Hal Jordan's one of my favorite Green Lantern. My personally, I think he's one of the baddest. He's just it again when it comes to like talking about a hero, he's just like right up there, man. He's just the epitome of a hero. Like a lot of these superheroes that you read about in like comic books, like they're it's hard to way to put it. A lot of them just like kind of receive like their superpowers, right? And they like become badass and they build like a badass mentality. Hal Jordan was already so badass that the ring chose him. Like he was such a badass
mm,
to begin with that the ring wanted him to be a part of him. You know
mm,
what I mean? He's basically mastered willpower. And that's one of the things that I love about him as a character because anybody that knows anything about any of the Lantern Corps, each different color has got its own different like unique quality to it. When it
mm,
comes to Green Lantern, it's willpower. Who is ever that's the whole thing about beyond the the ring. You know what I mean?
mm,
You could do anything that you can imagine through willpower. You know, in the brightest day, in the darkest night, no evil shall escape my light. Beware my power, Green Lantern's light. Fucking love it.
mm.
You know, I had to geek out there for a second there. But that's basically what one of the reasons why I love Hal Jordan so much though, man. Like even when because I could relate to it. I think anybody could relate to it. You know, life's a bitch, and it's gonna kick you in your teeth, and
Mhm,
it's gonna shove you down to the ground, and you will stay there unless you have the willpower to pick yourself back up and keep going. You know what I mean? Willpower is what gets us through things as human beings, and that's one of the reasons why just Green Lanterns, period. But Hal Jordan's been my personal favorite superhero for a very long time. Um, they did that like awful, god awful movie with Ryan Reynolds. Don't get me wrong, I love Ryan Reynolds, man, but damn, that movie was so awful. I hope that they I hope they're supposed to be doing a Lantern Corps movie. I hope they really do it justice. I really do. It shouldn't even be a movie. It should be a series, to be honest with you, because it's the Lantern Corps are so in depth. But just a few of the reasons why Hal, give you an example of why Hal Jordan is that badass Green Lantern. And he is, I'm fact check me on this, people. I'm not 100%, like, I am not a comic book expert. I'm a comic book enthusiast. I will point that out, but I'm fairly certain this guy is the only person that forged his own ring out of willpower. Just sheer out of willpower, he forged his own Green Lantern ring. And not only did he do that, it was stronger than the original. That's how much
Damn.
strong. Yeah, that's how strong willpower this man has. And after he did that, he simply became like willpower itself. It's kind of
Hmm.
hard to describe, but like in a DC universe, like the Flash uses Speed Force. That's how he's able to move. It's its own like physics, as you
Hmm.
will. You know what I mean? And willpower is the same thing. The willpower is it's like its own physics behind it. And he became so his willpower became so strong. He almost became willpower in itself. You
Hmm.
know, like he's just a that's just a badass character. Like to put it in perspective, like comic book fans are going to know this, but there's this thing called Guardians of the Universe in DC Comics, all right, which
Hmm.
basically means they're just badass people, to put it latently. And even these people that are badass, godlike powers, even they're like, I don't really know if I feel like fucking with Hal Jordan right now.
Hmm.
Like even they're just kind of like, kind of like what Thanos is with like the Hulk. Like, don't get me wrong, like we could tackle it. I'll take him on. But if I could dance around him, I kind of will do that. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That's how badass Hal Jordan is. He's just the it's just like it's just so relatable when it comes to that willpower, you know. And I know I keep like circling around about that, but that to me, that's just what's always been relatable to him. It's just
Hmm.
the guy, no matter what, man, he's just like you're not. You he gotten so badass at being using his willpower that he couldn't die. That's like he just refused death. Like that's just like he wouldn't accept death. He's like I'm gonna live and I'm not gonna die. Like that's how strong his willpower was.
So
Oh
he just, that's it, just straight up. Death says, "Time to go."
yeah,
No, not
yep.
doing it. You can't make me.
Dude, I can't remember what. If somebody does know this, be sure to drop it in the comments, please. But I can't remember what story arc it happened.
Hmm.
But basically, he was got into an altercation with the villain, right? And this is a little bit ago. I read this, so I can't really remember the specifics. But the villain's like, you can't use the ring to harm yourself, and he's like, the fuck, I can't use the ring. Killed himself. And then just basically came back to life, and he was like, "See, not only did I use the ring to kill myself, but I used it so I couldn't die." like, like it's basically a spit in the face to say, "Hey, I'm badass. You're not. Go that way." Yeah. So
uh,
he's also when it comes to power, he's like one of the underrated ones. When he first gets the ring,
mhm,
he's not really up there in scales in terms of power. But like the more you get into pre-crisis and everything, like the guy he gets up there, man. He's really
mm,
powerful. I'm not saying he's gonna take on Superman or anything like that, but he's definitely strong. We're a very strong superhero, very underrated.
hmm.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, one of the fun things that he actually did. I don't know if you know this character. Do you know who Lobo is?
Lobos, yeah,
Yeah, you know who Lobo is. Lobo is basically like
he's
I don't know,
evil
DC.
Wolverine.
Yeah, yeah, basically, exactly. Thank you. He's a
Hmm.
DC's version of I can't die. You know what I mean? And
Ah,
just a DC version of I'm a badass and I like to go around and do badass things. Like one of the very few people that took him down was Hal Jordan. He subdued him and everything like that. Like
hmm.
that was actually a badass story arc too. So
Okay. Question for someone who's or I guess uninitiated, because I know there have been multiple Green Lanterns in terms of the human character that's followed by the comics. Uh, Hal Jordan is he the black dude or the white dude?
that's so racist. What's wrong with you?
So I know which character you're talking about because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, Hal Jordan, is that the one that they did the Ryan or that Ryan Reynolds played, or what's going on
I'm
here?
just I'm just messing with you, bro. Yeah, he's the white dude. Um,
Oh, okay, so
but
not the one I'm thinking of.
yeah, there's also been multiple white Green Lanterns.
Oh,
The one that did Hal Jordan was the one that Ryan Reynolds did, even though it was terrible. So don't like use that as a standpoint.
No, certainly.
Jonathan Stewart as the black gentleman that is the Green Lantern, which he's his own badass Green Lantern too. There's a huge argument out there. He's the best Green. He's been the best Green Lantern. The Jonathan Stewart deserves some love too. I mean, he's a badass character. He's one of my favorite
Okay.
actors. Yeah.
Well, like,
And you even got Kyle Rayner which is the White Lantern. Which,
mm,
like I said, man, if you get into the Lantern Corps and you start reading the comics, man, it is really badass. Like the differences between the rings, who can use them, and which this will be coming up later because I got another character I'm gonna bring up about this. But
hmm.
yes,
Well,
but what do you got next on your list?
well, before I get into that, I asked that because
Oh,
myself and perhaps many people that's it who only have like a toe in the comic book universes.
mhm.
Uh, John Stewart was the Green Lantern in like Justice League and all of
Yes.
the DC era cartoons, and that's when I think of the Green Lantern, that's the character that I'm thinking of. So I just needed a little bit of specificity.
You're fine. I completely understand that, especially with newer generations are growing up with those series.
Mm,
I understand that.
but
Like I said, he's a badass character too, man. I don't
mm.
hate.
But to get back to your question, I'm going to connect a little bit, going from
Ooh.
the Green Lantern that can make any kind of construct that the user can imagine to a kind of power that if you can imagine it, you can do that or create any kind of construct. And
Mm-hmm.
I speak, of course, of alchemy from Full Metal Alchemist. And the character I'd actually like to point out is not going to be Ed, nay, nay, but his brother, Alphonse Elric.
Huh. I have no idea who you're talking about. That's just like once again, this is one of those animes. I feel like this is like a repeating theme, but this is one of those animes I keep hearing terrific things about, and I just haven't watched myself.
uh, here I go again. I'm like a drunk chick at the glory hole, but let me suck the cock of Full Metal Alchemist for a moment. Um,
What the fuck, man?
I'm just saying I know what I'm doing, but uh, listeners of our other podcast J and A, you've probably heard the episode on criticism, and I kind of said there was something out there that or rather I said there was kind of nothing out there that could not be criticized negatively. I would like you to know that I consider Full Metal Alchemist to be that exception which proves the rule, because I genuinely cannot find a damn thing wrong with Full Metal Alchemist. It is just that good, that smart. The narrative is fucking amazing. Uh, the characters are all really well written. It has, it's humorous, it's interesting. Just if you're a fan of anime, even just the casual, and you haven't watched Full Metal Alchemist or Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, fucking do it. Like, this is the cross code. Yes, I'm bringing up video games of anime. Like, Full Metal Alchemist is the anime I show to non-anime fans to try and get them into anime because it is just that good. But
Calm down, dude. I'll watch it.
like seriously. But the reason I bring up Alphonse instead of his or Ed, Edward being the protagonist of the series, is
Uh,
I believe Alphonse adds not or he's injects some much needed levity into Full Metal Alchemist in general. Like
uh,
it's really kind of a dour story, and spoiler warnings. Anyway, um, in a series that revolves chiefly around some shadowy cunt orchestrating the course of history for an entire nation, so he can turn its population into a power source in order to eat God.
hey, that sounds bad. Defuck ass.
Mm. which I guess I kind of actually ruined that for you, but don't worry, it's fine. Um,
Hey, I'll smoke a bowl and forget about
oh yeah, there you go. But
it.
Al injects some much needed levity because he is that kind of sweet and innocent younger brother character, and there's that fun contrast because he is basically a giant suit of armor. Like his soul is bonded to just this huge suit of armor, but he's a little kid. And he does, dumb things like, or not dumb things, but cute things like, he finds a stray cat and he puts it inside himself to help keep it safe. And, uh, you know, when they're trying to attract a lot of attention, he jumps around with fans promoting, the great Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah,
And that's it. He's just a fun character in what is ultimately kind of a dour story. And I think that's important. And I think that Alphonse really shows Hiromu Arakawa, or Hiromi Arakawa, which was her real name. It really shows that, she's an intelligent writer and she added a character to that her story really needed.
that's pretty dope. Hey, and it's a female raider too, man. Oh,
Mhm.
you got the lefties already.
Oh, well, you know what? Just to throw something out there for the dudes too, I say Google up a picture of Hiromi Arakawa, or you probably have better luck looking for Hiromu Arakawa. But
How
chick's
do
a
you
stone
spell her
cold
name?
fox. Like she is absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, she's an incredible writer. She knew what the fuck she was doing when it came to
What's her
Full
name
Metal
again?
Alchemist. Hiromu Arakawa is her pen name, but her real name is Hiromi Arakawa.
uh, okay. I
But
got a new pin poster.
but no, seriously, that's it. Al or Alphonse, he's acute and he has some really bad, or he's probably got some of the most badass moments in Full Metal Alchemist.
Okay, that's dopeness. That's dopeness. To
Hmm.
picking up from like badass moments, I'm actually gonna throw you a curveball and I'm gonna give out one of my favorite anime characters. And
Ooh.
yes, yes, and I actually would like to point out once again, there is going to be spoilers here. All right. As soon as I start talking about this character, in fact, I'm probably going to make my girlfriend not even listen to this episode because I'm making her watch it now, and I don't want her to get spoiled. But this is particularly about Dragon Ball Z, and the character is Gohan.
Ah,
Um,
yes.
yes. Growing up, or like any DBZ fan, as soon as I say this, they're gonna understand why this is one of my favorite anime characters. I'm obviously gonna describe the reason why he's one of my favorite these anime characters. Growing up, man, like if you have any touch of nerd in you at all, if nerds touched you in your soul in any shape, way, or form, you probably watched Dragon Ball Z, and you probably watched it on Tsunami like the rest of us growing up. Like, I mean,
Yep.
let's just, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of the first. It was one of my first animes. And growing up watching Dragon Ball Z, I didn't like there's a generation before us. They grew up watching Dragon Ball. I didn't. I went back and watched Dragon Ball. So like a lot of people were always like Goku fans. Me, when I started watching Dragon Ball Z, Gohan's just that like little whiny child that's sitting there crying all the time. That Piccolo basically becomes his daddy, raises him, makes him into like this little badass character, but he's still kind of fucking whiny. And then it goes off to Namek, toughens up a little bit more, but still on that whiny side, and all the way up till the Cell Saga. Once you get to the Cell Saga and the Goku and him go into the training session into the time capsule, I think that's called. Am I right?
Hyperbolic time chamber.
Thank you very much, John.
Mm.
And when they go in the hyperbolic time chamber and they train, they come out stuck in Super Saiyan mode, obviously. And Goku knew it like right from the get, and like when you rewatch it, after you watch it for the first time, you really don't notice it. But when you rewatch it, you kind of see foreshadowing it. Like Goku knew, like the entire time in Dragon Ball Z, they kept teasing like Gohan's like this badass character that just hasn't unleashed it yet. Like he fucked up Raditz. He's got these moments where he just like gets really pissed off and he does his badass thing and he's like they kept teasing it. You know what I mean? And like when they came up to the Cell Saga and like Cell's got like all his little guys sitting there beating the shit out of his basically all his family and friends and everything like that. And Gohan goes Super Saiyan 2 is like one of the most badass moments I've ever watched in any cartoon, any anime, like anything, like just ever. Watching Gohan go Super Saiyan 2 and beat the living dog shit out of Cell was like one of my most favorite things I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like I'm to this day, I'm fucking pissed off at how they did him after the Cell Saga, and they kind of turned Gohan into a little bitch again. Like I hear that he's starting to turn around in Dragon Ball Super. I haven't watched Dragon Ball Super, but what they did to him in the Buu Saga just completely pissed me off. Like you should have let Gohan take the mantle from Goku and let Gohan be the badass. Like you sit there and tease for what is it, 4 fucking seasons? He's gonna be the next badass character. Then you start a fifth another season and you just completely forget about it. Like, come on,
Hmm.
man. I had to get that out. But yes, that's the reason why Gohan's one of my favorite anime characters, just because like he's just like everybody's sitting there thinking like he's just this like soft little kid that can fight but really doesn't want to, and he's basically what happens when you piss off a nice guy.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like that's what you when you finally piss off Mr. Nice Guy, like that's what you get. You fucked up. And like
Uh,
what like I what's up?
oh, go ahead.
No, and like I said, like I just watching him beat the hell out of Cell was just nostalgia, man. Uh,
Uh, I can't think of the name of the song, but I know you probably uh oh God. Podcaster, be a good podcaster. Come on. Um
you can do it.
like one thing that they did, if you did watch it on Toonami, is they took out some of the music that occurred from when Gohan snaps and just goes completely or goes Super Saiyan 2. And having watched the Japanese version, I have to say that was a terrible move. I'm trying to remember what the name of the song was, but they have this song during the cutscene from where Cell steps on Android 16's head, and the just him kind of the process of his mind breaking right before he decides he's gonna just start screaming and just fucking whack or and actually do the transformation into Super Saiyan 2. Um, it's called Day of Fate, Spirit versus Spirit, and that's it. Just when it kicks in, it really just kind of heightens the epicness right before Gohan just loses his shit, and then bam, Super Saiyan 2.
Yeah,
And if you've never seen the Japanese version or you've never watched Dragon Ball Abridged, shout out to the Team 4 Star, just do it. It adds a whole new dimension to that scene.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to check that out, like for real, because that sounds badass. Like I have watched Japanese version episodes of Dragon Ball Z, but I'm pretty sure it's the movies that I've watched. It's been a
Mm,
long time, so forgive my memory, but I'm pretty sure it's just the movies that I watched because it's funny. Like I was gonna mention Goku being one of my favorite anime characters,
mhm.
and I even talked to you about it. And I remember we had a prior discussion. The listeners obviously don't know, but he was telling me the Goku version is basically different. I should tell people what's different between the Goku between the Japanese and English versions for people that just grew up watching that tsunami.
Okay. Well, for those of us that grew up watching the Toonami version, Goku had a very serious character shift between the English and the Japanese versions of Dragon Ball Z. Um, in the English version, Goku is basically Superman, like defender of the weak, justice, truth, or Saiyan way, stuff like that. He's basically Superman in terms of being a goody two shoes. Um, in the Japanese version, he's actually uh, kind of a bit colder, kind of like his sole character motivation is that he wants to fight strong dudes. Now, he's got his moments where, he doesn't like, criminals, or he doesn't like evildoers or anything like that. But his main motivation throughout the entire series is literally just, I want to fight strong dudes, and strong dudes is what gets him off. Not Although I guess his wife does pretty good at that too. Fucker's got what, two, three kids, two? Yeah.
Uh, he's up to 4 now, ain't he?
Uh,
Pretty
I
sure
don't
they had
know.
like another one after Goten.
I know Gohan and we're really. I'm gonna have to cut this out because let's face it, we're kind of we're showing we're frauds. We're frauds.
No, fuck that. They can suck my dick, dude. Like I told them, I watched it up to the fucking Boo saga. I haven't watched Super, so fuck off.
uh, but
I'm
yeah,
pretty
that
sure there's another one after Goten.
I'm gonna have to go or look and go back. But yeah, definitely that's um Goku in the Japanese version of Dragon Ball is not quite the goody two shoes as his American counterpart is. Which
Yeah, that.
one you like better?
Oh, yeah.
That's up to you.
Yeah, that's like that. To me, that was really interesting, man. Because like he don't get me wrong, Goku does have that in like the English part, the
Hmm.
English version rather. He does have that aspect where he does like to fight the strong dudes, like it, but that's like the icing on the cake for him in the English version. You know what I mean? Like it's always
Ah.
first, hey, I defend the innocent. You know what I mean? And then, oh, this guy's really strong. Now I can't really wait to fight him. Like that was always like the icing on the cake in the English version. You told me that about like the Japanese version, and I'm like, I don't think he's one of my favorite characters anymore. It kind of sounds like a dick. Like he didn't raise his kid. I mean, Piccolo is really the daddy of Gohan. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. But
It,
anyways, that's
hmm.
the reason why I brought up Gohan instead of Goku. But and not only that, man, like I don't know, I just felt like more of a character connection to Gohan than I always did to Goku anyways. You know what I mean? Like I'm
Hmm.
Mr. Nice Guy until you piss me off, and then you're gonna see something you really wish you didn't create. You didn't create.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I guess in general, Gohan is probably just a much more relatable character.
yeah,
Uh,
I would agree.
because I mean, let's face it, Goku is basically a bumbling idiot.
Well, that was the one thing I liked about it in the English version because he is a bundling idiot, but when it comes to fighting, he's an expert.
Oh,
He's an idiot in every other aspect, but when it comes to fighting, the guy's an expert.
the same is true of him in the Japanese version, and shouting out fellow creators. If you've ever watched Dragon Ball Abridged, like all of Goku's really smart moments in the show are him just going, I just thought about it like one big fight, really.
Huh. That's funny.
So, on the subject of punchy dudes, I'd hope you don't punch me. Oh, wait, that was your character. I'm good at this. Oh, shit. Wow, we are terrible. We should just delete this whole episode, but we're not. It's going live. So, I guess to since we talked about a relatable character, this is a character I found really relatable, and is probably one of the best redemption arcs ever done. And I'm about to get some flack for some of this, so y'all just hold on for a second. I'm talking about Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender. And there's just something I want to address straight right from the get. Uh, Avatar is anime, and in the words of another YouTuber, fuck you, fight me. Just because it was made by a couple of white dudes doesn't mean it isn't anime. Anime is an art form. It's a movement in animation in general. And I could sit here and argue like this is a podcast topic for another time, but just roll with me here when I say Zuko. Have you watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, Andrew?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know what the fuck I'm talking about.
This time I do.
Hallelujah.
Yes, yes.
But
So, just tell me the reason why he's one of your favorite characters.
uh, okay, just his redemption arc in general is something I can really appreciate because uh, self growth and improvement is really a big aspect of my life. You know, I'm really trying to every day be a little bit better than I was the day before,
Mm.
and Zuko embodies that aspect. He starts off as this bratty little shit, and he gets humbled and he learns from it, and he comes around to being just an exemplary dude and an exemplary character. And that's it. I love his arc, and I love uh the kind of like he kind of gets like a style change almost in terms of his fighting style, and I really like that kind of very fluid, almost breakdancey kind of stuff, and that's it. Just I absolutely adore Zuko.
Um, yeah, like I honestly always liked that character.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say that he was one of my favorites, but at the same time, I like that character. And I don't think yeah, like how you described it is pretty perfect. Like the redemption arc kind of thing. Like that's totally relatable, and it should be relatable to practically everybody. And the reason why it should be relatable to practically everybody is because we all fuck up.
Mm,
You know what I mean? We all make mistakes, and God knows how many mistakes I've made in my past. And like how you said, dude, I'm just trying to be a better person each and every day. And they resembled that great in that story arc.
definitely.
Oh,
And uh, I like that. I like it because Zuko throughout the most of the story was portrayed as this very kind of serious, dour character, and they use that to comedic effect. But when he gets with the gang and really starts to open up, you get to see kind of that lighter, more fun side of Zuko, and it's that
yeah.
nice contrast that really is kind of showing hey, he's on the right side now. He gets it.
Hey, I got a fun little fact for you about him
Mm.
though. His character voice is Dante Basco. Do you know who that is?
Enlighten me.
He is Rufio from Robin from Peter Pan movie with Robin Williams.
Ha!
Rufio, Rufio.
Rufio. Okay, copyright. Shh, shh, shh.
Yeah. Bufio, Bufio.
Careful
Yes,
now.
yes, he is the person that voices him.
Hmm. That is wow.
Bet you didn't
Small
know
world.
that, did you? Ha.
I had no
But
idea.
no, there. Yeah, well, yeah, but I agree with you everything you said about that character. Like, I'm not a huge Avatar fan, but I have watched it. Got different things to say about the movie.
Uh, the movie doesn't exist. Just it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Shh.
it's like the glory hole. We don't talk about that.
A little bit, little bit.
In fact, I think the glory hole gets talked about more than the movie does.
Well, I'll say at least the glory hole probably has more positive things said about it than the movie.
It definitely gets more attention.
Uh,
All right, I do have one more anime character that I want to bring up.
alrighty.
Yes, I know, man. I don't get me wrong. I have other comic book characters to talk about, but I felt like I needed to bring up at least two anime characters. My second one is Inuyasha,
Hmm.
and one of those. Okay, like there's obviously going to be like spoilers when we talk about this. Are you? I shouldn't even fucking ask you this, but I'm going to. Did you watch Inuyasha?
Yes.
Okay. Like I didn't do. I probably shouldn't ask, but hey, gotta never know. Gotta double check. Inuyasha is one of my favorite animes. I stumbled upon that anime by accident. I was just up late one night, and I think sure enough, it was Tsunami that I popped on, and I was like really lucky that I just like started off right on the first episode of being laid up one night, and it pretty much hooked me into it, like right into it, right from
Mm.
the get go. Um. But the reason why Inuyasha is one of my favorite characters is basically almost everything you just described about the dude from Airbender. Like he's a like let's be honest, man. Right in the get go, like Inuyasha's a prick.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not a likable character. It's pretty much doing what he wants to do, just become stronger, just so he can beat the shit out of his brother. But later, like later in the story, like he learns to to actually care about things, and like he learns to stand up for like what is right and what he believes in, and like he ends up defying all the odds. Basically, I mean, the entire story is basically him trying to prove to his brother that he is a full-blood demon, and his brother looking down on him like, "Eh, you're just a half-blood. You know, you're weak, you're pathetic, and all this kinds of stuff." And then here along comes this girl that's softening him up, and but he's trying to fight her away, but through it, like it's almost like that mushy kind of through love he found he could be stronger kind of things.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well, one thing I
Yeah,
like about Inuyasha in that regard is him and Sashomaru really have this kind of interesting parallel because they both start off as very kind of gruff characters, and they both soften, but in their own ways. And really, it's just kind of Sashomaru that has, I guess, sort of the major character development in terms of, changing his perspective and stuff like that. But Inuyasha definitely has some really good growth throughout Inuyasha,
yeah.
the series. And yeah, I can definitely see why he'd be one of your favorites.
Oh yeah, it's like he grows. They I don't know who the writer is, but the writer deserves all the credit of growing him as a character because they did like a terrific job. Like
I,
how many times he like been tested to like just like go like down the dark path as you will, and like refused it, and like turn around to help his friends and things like that. Like, and on top of that, like he's like kind of weird to describe, but kind of like like an asshole, but a like a funny asshole.
mm,
I don't want to necessarily say like a smart ass because that's not the way to describe it, but like his assholeness is just funny. That's just weird. Like at least to my sense of humor, it was.
I definitely get that, and I just do want to cut in real quick. The author is Rumiko Takahashi,
Oh,
who basically invented the romantic comedy genre for anime and manga.
oh, awesome. Well, thank you very much, my friend. Also, listeners, you're going to hear the Japanese names be spoken by him and not me because me, I'll sound like a fucking idiot. Him, he'll sound like a smart guy. So we're just going to leave it like that.
Well, it helps that I actually speak Japanese, so I know how to say the
No,
names.
well, like I already like sound dumb enough on these already. So.
Yeah, we're just I'll take care of that job. Don't worry about it, bro.
I feel like the special kid. Don't you worry, Andrew. We're gonna get you that ice cream cone.
It'll be okay, buddy. It'll be okay.
Yeah. Oh shit. So let me hear your next character, man.
All right. On the topic of, kind of assholes and pranksters that, soften up and become better characters in general. Uh, this is one I'm probably gonna get either a little bit of flack for, or people just nodding their head, understanding. But Naruto from the titular Naruto. Have you watched Naruto?
I thought the silence would have said that already. that's uh that's a no for me, dog.
Okay. Naruto is kind of, I almost think of it as kind of like the general successor to Dragon Ball Z, and I'll probably catch some shit for saying that. But they're very similar style shows. It's just Naruto is more recent.
Hmm.
Um, and there are actually a lot of kind of parallels between Naruto and Dragon Ball Z, but I mean, that's a whole other freaking episode. Um, but the
Oh,
reason hmm?
what's the character? What's the character in the show that you're talking about?
I'm talking about Naruto.
Oh, so it's the name of the show and the
Yes,
character too?
and the name of the
Okay.
protagonist. Um,
Oh, okay. My bad. My bad.
oh, you're good. You're good. But one thing that I really appreciate about Naruto, the character, is that Okay, I'm just gonna call him Uzumaki because that's his last name, so that way I can say Naruto and mean the series. And yeah, because otherwise this is gonna get confusing as fuck. Like it's already
Hey, I
difficult trying to keep track of it in my head.
yeah,
But
that's cool.
uh, one of the things I like about Uzumaki uh, throughout the series is that you see him not only physically grow up, but emotionally grow up. You know, he starts off as this bratty, shitty little kid who's only got, this, who's got this dream that he really has no reasonable way of achieving. And it's classic anime, you see him work hard, you see him train, you see him overcome adversity, and you also see just kind of the general shift of his place in the universe, or rather his place in the universe of the story, because it's mostly confined to the village he lives in, except for when it isn't. But anyway, you see this bratty little kid who was ostracized and rejected by everybody start to win friends, start to be accepted by the community, start to be, a kind of upstanding member of society. And you get to see him just get these really badass powers too. I mean, it's a shonen. The fact that he's got badass powers is kind of part of the draw. And you even see him get more intelligent with him. Like, Naruto is not a smart character. He's not like, say, Deku or Barry Allen, where his intelligence is a major factor. But you really see him start to, think about what he can do in interesting ways. And he's kind of a great uniter in the cast. Like, he's got the very shonen trope of, former enemies kind of becoming allies, and those characters also become, major major players in the story in general. And it's just that's it. He's a fascinating character to watch grow and evolve.
Mhm.
And I mean,
I could get that. I mean, who doesn't want to cheer for the outcast?
mm-hmm. No,
You
that's it.
know,
He's always the underdog. He's always the outcast until he's not. But they never really he turn him into the major threat, I guess.
mhm.
But I had to mention one of the previous generations, or big three. Like these are landmark titles in anime, and it needs must be remarked.
I get that. I get that. He sounds like an interesting character. That show sounds interesting. It sounds like after this podcast, dude, I got a lot of anime that I need to start watching. I had to do that shit with Bleach because I heard so many great things about it. I had to start watching that myself, which
Bleach
isn't bad.
was Bleach was fantastic, but it needed to end at the Eisen or after the Eisen arc. After
I
that, it
haven't
really
got
just
that.
kind of
Yeah, I haven't got that far into it yet.
okay. Like
Uh,
there's going to be a point in the series where it feels like this is the finale, the thing is done, and then it continues, and it's just like the the
like
narrative
Dragon.
weight. Hmm?
Go ahead.
Well, in Dragon Ball, you kind of expect it to keep going just because of the nature of the show, but like when it comes to Bleach, there is all of this build up. Like there's like four fucking seasons concerning just this one antagonist. And when they finally do defeat him, you kind of feel, or at least I felt, that okay, this is how Bleach ends, and then it
Hmm.
keeps going. And I don't think that was a smart move.
I could understand that. Yeah, damn, there's so many shows I could think of that are like that.
Mm,
But I guess that's another podcast. We
mm.
have a lot of other podcasts.
Hey, plenty of
Speaking,
content.
yes, oh man, speaking of another podcast, these next two characters I'm going to be bringing up. I'm not going to go too much in depth into them, and the reason why is because they're going to be podcasts on these characters. Pretty or like I don't want to say alone, but definitely more when it comes to more in depth because I'm such huge fans of them. I'm gonna go. They could be interchangeable. Like these are definitely my top two favorite superheroes.
Hmm.
But at the same time, like they could interchange. So it's not really number one and number two. But I'm just gonna go lead off with the Marvel one, and that is, of course, one of Marvel's most famous superheroes, and that is Spider-Man. And
Of course.
yes, I am one of the kids that grew up watching the '90s cartoon, and that '90s cartoon is one of the things that turned me into comic books.
Mm.
Um, to this day, I think when it comes to being not only a superhero in a comic book,
Excuse me.
but just be like, oh, you're fine, but just being a hero in general, like Spider-Man is like the standing point. Like that is like that's where you start. You want to learn how to be a superhero? Watch Spider-Man. Like learn from that guy, 'cause that's what the superhero is. But man, see, not only is he funny as hell, like to me, I always thought him as one of the funniest comic book characters out there. Like he's always been lucky to have terrific writers that have a great sense of humor, and that's one of the reasons why I've always loved Spider-Man, because
Mm.
his life is shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like his parents gets taken away from when he's young. His uncle, like the guy, his father figure, his uncle Ben gets taken away when he's a teenager. His first girlfriend dies. Like his life is shit, man, and he still manages to sit there and seem to keep laughing. I mean, this guy literally turned the Hulk back into Bruce Banner by telling him a knock knock joke.
Mm.
Like how can you not like that? How can you not fall in love with a character like that? Like they do it's like Hulk smash, and he's like knock knock, and the Hulk just starts laughing and turns back into Bruce Banner, and he's like, dude, you were telling me a knock knock joke when I'm trying to rip your head off? Like what the hell's wrong with you? Like how do you not love a character like that? You know, and on top of that, he's I know he's like obviously been Marvel's like most popular superhero. Maybe not recently with the Infinity Wars, Iron Man might have gotten up there, but let's
Mhm.
face it, like when it comes to Marvel, the standing point, it's Spider-Man. You know what I mean? And I don't think he's appreciated enough as a smart character, especially recently with all the shit with Iron Man. Like the MCU is a different podcast. I'm not going to dive into that, but like the Spider-Man is like a very witty and very smart guy.
Mhm.
He's like incredibly strong in the comic books. Like they really nerfed his strength in the movies, like all of them. They've nerfed the hell out of his strength. Like
Right.
this guy, like he lifts train cars. This guy, like his speed too. They nerf. Like I remember there was this one time, like he reacted so fast to this guy pulling a trigger and shooting him that they
Mhm.
grabbed the gun out of the guy's hands before the bullet even came out of the chamber. While the guy was pulling the trigger, like that's how fast this guy's reflexes are. Like that's badass. You know what
That's
I mean? Like
Flash level. Holy shit.
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Like he's just and also just as a character, man. Like I don't know how many times. Like let's face it, in the Marvel universe, Spider-Man is by far not the strongest guy.
Mm.
He is. They even got a There's a story arc, and I can't remember what starting superhero it is.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure it's the new superhero that's coming on this new game or whatever. But she's
Mhm.
basically feeling down, like she's always overwhelmed. And he's like, "Look, this world's always going to throw something at you." He's like, "I'm constantly taking on people that are 10 times stronger than me, and like he's like, I always find a way to beat them because I outsmart them." He's like, "You're always going to be in and over your head." And then Thor comes like crushing through the whole sky with his thunder and lightning hammer. And he's like, "Well, unless you're Thor, and Thor, you're never over your head." Like you just gotta love Spider-Man. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I know you're a decent Spider-Man fan. Have you ever read any of the comics or anything?
I haven't read any of the comics, and honestly, that's it. My exposure to Spider-Man is, the '90s cartoon and uh, stuff like that. Of course, movies and whatnot, which Tobey Maguire. Different podcast. Like I said, we got
Yeah,
content for days
yeah,
that we're gonna be coming up with. But Spider-Man was always one of those unique characters in the sense that Peter Parker is as important to the idea of Spider-Man as uh, Spider-Man the hero. Um,
yeah.
I don't like Spider-Man, the franchise, the comic, was the one that really kind of focused on the dual aspect of being a superhero, especially one like, Peter Parker, because he's basically just a regular dude who's got superpowers and trying to do the right thing with them. And I don't mean to try and say, oh, he's not a hero or nothing like that. No, I'm not even suggesting that. But eh,
Dude, that's
that,
such a great thing to point out, man. That is such a great thing to point out because you get like superheroes like Superman. Like Superman's like basically like a perfect person. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, personality wise, and like he's like Mr. Savior. He's basically like a perfect person. Like nothing really bad happens to the guy too. I mean, obviously his plane exploded, obviously, but beyond that, it's just like Bruce Wayne's like obviously rich. Like all these superheroes are like basically like, but Spider-Man, Peter Parker, he's just a normal dude. Like this guy has trouble paying his rent all the time. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like he's got trouble balancing his relationship and work, and like he's got trouble keeping a job. Like he's just a normal dude with superpowers, but yet he still stands up and never ever backs down, no matter how strong they are. Like in the original Infinity Gauntlet, spoiler alert, I guess, but the original Infinity Gauntlet arc, Thanos, when he snapped everybody away, he kept a handful of people, and the reason why he kept them was out of respect. And one of those people he kept was Spider-Man.
Hmm.
Yeah, Thanos respected the Spider-Man so much that he kept him alive.
Hmm.
He thought he was deserving to live.
Definitely. And I guess one thing about Spider-Man that's really, really kind of noteworthy is he's a very well-rounded character. Most superheroes are ultimately kind of one-dimensional. They're just sort of like, oh, I am superhero, and you know, oh, sometimes I have, this other aspect of my life where, like I said, Peter Parker is important to Spider-Man as Spider-Man, the hero, is.
And honestly, for somebody that hasn't read the comics, that's very well put.
Mm.
Like maybe it's because the '90s cartoon did a terrific fucking job with it.
Yeah,
I've watched it on Disney Plus recently too. It's aged well.
yeah, definitely.
So what do you got next, man? Like obviously I could go on for days about Spider-Man.
Let's see. Well, okay, I'm gonna throw my own curveball now. And we're going to talk about a potential Spider-Man clone, but not really. Okay, yeah, this is all just a bunch of pointless fluff or nothing. Deadpool.
Hey, that's not a Spider-Man clone. That's a Deathstroke clone.
You got Snake eyes and oh crap, I forget the lyrics. Anyway, but he's kind of a Spider-Man clone in the sense that he's the smart-ass hero. And I mean, that's actually something we didn't bring up about Peter Parker is that, the whole smart-ass quips, this, that, and the third. Uh,
Talk about Spider-Man for days, like I said.
yep, there's anyway, so in an effort to uh not talk about Spider-Man anymore, because we did his segment. One thing I appreciate with about Deadpool is that he's really kind of the Marvel writer's toolbox. You can tell so many different stories with, the Merc with the mouth. I love the fact I love all the fourth wall breaks. I love that he's a very kind of self-referential character. Like most of Deadpool's jokes only know make sense if you are a fan of comic books or Marvel in general. And I know we're not talking about different adaptations right now, but that was one thing that I really appreciated about the Deadpool movies is that they captured the spirit of Deadpool for a different medium. Like uh, I would honestly say Deadpool is the most successful transition from comic book character to another form of medium, and they did that not by keeping the Marvel references and stuff like that, but by really just capturing the spirit of what makes Deadpool a good and interesting character.
Comic book movies are going to be like something that's definitely in the future, folks. More in depth. But you are a hunch because there's other characters I could bring up about that. Like again,
Mm,
so think of subjects for days. But anyways, Ryan Reynolds fucking nailed Deadpool. Like it was almost like he was born to play Deadpool. Like that
wow.
that that, that guy's fucking Deadpool, man. Like I don't give a fuck what anybody says. What
Mm,
they when you say when you're saying that they did a good job of capturing the spirit, what they really did is they did the characters right. For fuck's
yeah.
sake, that's what they did. They did the damn characters right. When I watched the second Deadpool and I seen Juggernaut, I clapped. I
Mm,
fucking clapped. I was like, "That's fucking Juggernaut, not that X-Men bullshit you tried to shove it down my throat a few years ago." Like that is fucking Juggernaut. Like that's what Ryan Reynolds even went out of his way to make sure that movie was done right. And like
right.
it might not have stick to any source material or anything like that, but fucking A did they nail the characters.
Mhm.
Even
Definitely.
yeah, yeah, like everything. And like Deadpool, man, like I understand since the movies come out, he's become like somewhat of a sensation. It's just basically like any Nimrod that basically reads like one comic book of Deadpool is basically calling himself a comic book fan.
Mm,
I was actually a Deadpool fan before the movies came out, but I did become a Deadpool fan because I heard about the movies.
mm,
Um, I picked up and he's got a lot more character depth to him in the comic books than he does in the movies.
yeah.
In the movies is yeah, in the movies is basically just like full board, like just like Deadpool all the time. In the comic books, man, he's got some broken down moments of why he is the way he is. But there are some. I think Deadpool is the only fucking character I know of that defeated an enemy by talking too much.
Yeah.
Like he literally talked the enemy to defeat. Like the guy was just like, "Do you know what, dude? You win." He's like, "You too many. You gave me too many quips. I can't come back. I can't fight you anymore. I'd rather die than listen to you anymore."
And
Deadpool's like if you gave Fresh Prince of Bel Air like a big speed ball of coke.
and I do actually I've never read the comic, but there was we kind of all have just sort of the mouth offy jerk ass interpretation of Deadpool, and I would like to share a story I heard about Deadpool, just to
Oh,
kind of add a little bit of contrast. Um, and I guess a little bit of backup, and granted, I'm going to admit kind of talking smoke out my ass because I haven't read the comic, but part of Deadpool's appeal in comic book form is that, he's always breaking the fourth wall, talking directly to the reader, and it's done in a special style of text box. Um, Now, in the course of the story, he's talking with a therapist, and he's talking about how this one time or this contract that he has that's really kind of bringing him down is that he's looking for this pedophile who raped three little girls, and it's a very somber telling. And during the whole time, it's not like a regular Deadpool comic where he's making quips and jokes and stuff like that. Um, and as he gets to the end of the story, he looks at the therapist. And the twist in the story is that the therapist is the child rapist. And he just fucking blows a hole in him. Just, done. And after he does that, all of the quips and the jokes and the stuff like that come back. And he's like, good job, handled that one. And I really kind of appreciate the idea that, there could be this much more darker and serious side to a character whose main shtick is, haha, I make the funny.
that's exactly what I meant by there is a lot of depth into that character than people would let off to think. Anytime you go to like any Comic Con, you see a guy dressed as Deadpool. He's like, ah, Deadpool. Like, I don't think they really like a lot of people actually really know him that well. If you do want to, like you just one of those stories that you just brought up, like a literal story you just brought up, there are several of those throughout his comic book series. And it's fantastic storytelling. They did a great job of writing it. It's some also got some of the best artwork. in comic books, which is something we haven't really talked about much yet, but it will be coming up in the future, is the art in the
Mm,
comic books. Yeah, he's got a really in-depth story. Especially his weird fat love connection with death,
mm,
yeah, I don't know. A lot of people know this, but in Thanos in the MCU, he's like he wants to snap half the people away because of like not enough resources. I always hated that, and the reason why he does it in the comic books because he's in love with death, and he's trying to impress her by
mm.
killing half the people in the universe. But even after he does it, like Deadpool's still banging death. That's such a Deadpool thing. Go bang death. Like Barry Allen's outrunning death. But Deadpool's banging her. But brings me up to my final character, which is probably the exact opposite of Deadpool, to say the very least. Which is Batman. Now, before you motherfuckers pop out here, you Batman fanboy, prep time, Batman beats everybody. Shut up. I'm not one of those guys. All right.
Mhm,
Batman, along with Spider-Man, was I grew up watching in the '90s cartoon, just like most people do. Batman series, '90s series, is probably regarded as one of the best comic book series of all time, if not the best. Don't argue with me, bitches. Um, uh, Kevin Conroy is Batman. Michael Keaton could fuck off. I'll die on that hill.
mm,
Um, Batman, the Batman's always been one of my favorite superheroes for so many reasons, man. A like, I never personally got like why there's so many Superman fanboys out there that it
mm.
can relate to Superman. They claim they can relate to Superman, but not Batman. Like, don't get me wrong, I know Batman's filthy rich, and not a lot of people can like relate to that. But he's a
Right.
human being. He's human, a
Yeah.
human fucking being. Clark Kent is not. That's his alter ego. Clark Kent is alter ego to try to be a human being. He's actually Superman. He's a fucking
Hmm.
alien. You know what I mean? With godlike powers, he's acting like a human being. Batman is a human being that takes down gods. Like, what is not to like about this flipping guy, man? Like, I
He's
don't
like
personally.
one of the.
What's
Sorry.
that?
Oh, I was
Oh,
just gonna come in with a joke. He's like one of those Japanese RPG games.
exactly. It's exactly what the hell he is, man. Just to give people an idea of like how badass. Like, we get it, we get it. Like I'm on a lot of comic book fan pages on social media, and shout out to the Watchtower on Facebook. They're one of my favorite pages to follow. They're always consistent with their stuff. But a lot of people on social media are always claiming, well, everybody says Batman can beat anybody with prep tab, blah, blah, blah. Well, because he basically can. Like, don't get me wrong, dude. Batman loses all the time. When does Batman lose? In first encounters. Loses
Yeah.
damn near every single time on first encounters. He basically he gets some. He wins a lot of first encounters too, but basically he wins. He can't. What the hell are you gonna do against Green Lantern when you first? Yeah, what you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
what Batman's superpower is contingency plans. You know what I mean? And like Batman is like one of the very few DC characters to ever bring down Darkseid, and he did it twice. He, Darkseid, for people that don't know, Darkseid is like Thanos on steroids. Like Darkseid is like it's an all-powerful being in DC. I mean, the first time he did it, he got hit by like an Omega beam, which is the laser eyes that come out of Darkseid, and it gets sent Batman back in time, and then obviously it gave Batman time to prepare for his Darkseid plan, thwarted his plan, and sent him away. The second time he did it, he prepared even better. He ended up creating something called the Hellbat armor, which basically absorbed his like life force, so for him to be strong,
Hmm.
but strong enough to take him down. But like just to that just shows you how smart of a character he is. That like he can learn engineering to that standpoint, to where he could build that to take down an essential god. I mean, that's how powerful Darkseid is. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
There's another thing that's really interesting, and we're talking about the Lantern Corps and like how they got different rings for different things. Well, different rings for different things. That could be a jingling. But anyways, they got a yellow lantern ring. Well, lantern ringers for people that has basically conquered fear.
Hmm.
And the yellow ring came to Earth and like presented itself to Batman because he's like conquered fear. Like he was the most feared being he was the most feared thing on Earth, and Batman
Damn.
refused it. He's like, no. There's even a comic book arc where Batman's one of the only. Pretty sure he's the only human being that's wore all 5 rings. Basically, became a god. Yeah, yeah. That's actually a pretty interesting story. But and now he's also defeated the entire Justice League. I'm pretty sure it was Brainiac that like brainwashed. I can't remember specifically. If anybody's listener can like refresh my memory because it's been a while since I read it, but I'm pretty sure it's Brainiac that basically brainwashed the entire Justice League, and how he took down the Justice League with he created a suit called the Justice Buster. Like,
Mm.
they got this famous line in comic book when it comes to Batman. It's just like they ask like, "Oh, how do you know so much about it?" "Well, I have a contingency plan against all of us." "Yes." "What about you?" "Yes, me too." That's fucking Batman. He's got a contingency plan for anything. But anyways, I digress. He's got something called a Justice Buster suit.
Mm.
Basically what he does is just finds the weakness to every single Justice League member, and he does it brilliantly. Like, Wonder Woman, he traps in a simulation where I think she basically fights herself in a confusing battle. He puts frictionless coating everywhere, so the Flash can't use his Speed Force and slip and slides, and obviously gets trapped.
All
He
right.
yeah, he traps Aquaman in like this it's like waterless foam,
Hmm.
so he basically can't absorb any water or anything like that to get power because Aquaman gets more water that's around, the stronger he gets.
Ah.
And, yeah, and he takes down Superman by spinning a piece of kryptonite gum in his eye
Kryptonite gum.
and spit it in the fucker's eye.
I
Took down a god with a piece of gum.
I I have no words.
Yeah, right, dude. And now, okay, now, obviously, I gave you all of those dope ass, badass reasons why Batman is one of my favorite characters. But there is a underlining theme with an underlining thing with him. That another reason why he's one of my favorite characters is because, in my opinion, he's got the most badass villains. And when I say
Yeah.
badass villains, I don't mean like Doom, like, or they basically take over the universe. I mean just like I don't. They're just like the villains you love to hate, like the Joker,
Mm.
um, Deathstroke, uh, Two Face, like even Black Mask, like Harley Quinn, like all how many like famous Batman villains are? I mean, how many famous villains out there are there right now that are Batman villains? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And it's
And they created the Suicide Squad movie. All those motherfuckers are Batman villains. you know,
eh,
Deadshot's another one of them.
it's interesting that you bring that up actually. Um because for someone who hasn't followed the comics, quite seriously or anything like that, knows of Batman due to his place in popular culture. I would say that Batman is actually one of those characters who's more defined by his villains than any other. And like you brought up, how many famous villains are there or that are out there that are Batman villains? Like I couldn't name you like I know Doctor Doom for the Fantastic Four, but like I couldn't name you any Flash villains. I couldn't name you uh, any major X-Men villains other than Magneto, of course. I couldn't name you like that's it. There's so many villains that are popular from Batman that it really is almost Batman being defined by his rogues gallery rather than just Batman himself being the appeal to a franchise.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Joker. I
Mm.
mean, it's got one of the most famous villains of all time. Like if one of the most. Come on, let's be realistic. The most famous villain of all time. Like there is no fucking debate there. Like you could
You're
try to tell me who's more famous villain than Joker. Go ahead, I'll wait.
uh are we talking only comic books? Because I can actually probably name a couple.
They're more famous than the Joker.
Yes, I mean
Oh,
that's
get the
why
fuck out of here! No, you can't.
Darth Vader.
Okay. That might be that's a close one, dude. I gotta be honest with you. I did not think that you would strike even close to the iron, but that's a fucking close one. That's a close one.
Well, that's part of why I asked, are we talking about comic books or in general? Because, like,
Okay, okay. Let me correct myself. Just comic book villain, the most famous comic book villain.
yeah, okay, as long as we're within the realm of comic books, yeah, I got nothing.
I guess you proved me wrong pretty quick there, John. Thank you for making me look dumb.
Well, hey, I tried to give you a saving grace. I told you, hey, are we just talking about comic books here? Because, uh,
Hey, man, I'm willing to debate. Hey, that is debatable, though. Darth Vader, or more famous than Joker. I don't know, man. The Joker's been done more.
mm,
Ah, I don't know, but that's like an argument I don't want to have because I love them both.
uh, well, hey, you heard it here first. Maybe a future podcast topic. Who's more famous, Darth Vader or the Joker?
Hey, I got a drinking game for everybody that's listening to this. Take a drink every single time you hear a future podcast episode.
Don't do that. We don't want you to get alcohol poisoning. Seriously, don't do that.
Yeah,
Uh,
like don't do it. Do it.
but yeah, definitely. Uh, most of the villains, I would say, and I would say probably some of the best villains in in podcasts. Oh God, I'm a fraud.
You're
Um,
supposed to be a villain here, John. I mean, a podcaster.
oh
You just say
Christ.
meow.
No, I giggled like a schoolgirl, and we're not going to talk about that. But
Uh,
anyway, yeah, Batman villains, famous, probably the
uh,
most famous in comic books. Great, wonderful.
yes, you'll be hearing some more about Deathstroke in the future too, which is the original. What's supposed to be the original Deadpool, but hey,
Mm,
Slade Wilson, Wade Wilson. You see how you that's did not even debate that Deadpool is a straight rip off of Deathstroke. Like
mm,
it's well known, but hey, Marvel's I mean DC stolen off from Marvel, vice versa. It happens all the time. Who gives a fuck? But Deathstroke's actually one of my favorite villains, so that's somebody that become. Maybe we'll have a favorite villain episode, future podcast episode. Take a drink, fuckers.
don't, please, don't harm yourselves. I'm gonna be the voice of reason here. Uh, so wow, this has been going on forever. But I got one more character I want to bring up, and then I swear to God, listeners, if you've made it to this point, comment, tell us, who your favorite villain is down in the comments, or here, let's make a game out of it. If you've made it to this point, talk about pineapples in your comments somehow. Just pineapple.
But if you say pineapple and pizza, I swear to God.
Yeah, we don't need that kind of heavy-hitting, divisive topics. That we're
we
trying
don't
to be lighthearted here. We're trying to, this is jovial. But
Yeah, we don't condone Satanism on here.
oh God. But I said pineapple because I'm a good podcaster and I'm going to transition into this next character who has basically pineapple for a haircut, except not really. Anyway, that character, and we are. I've sucked the cock of the series earlier. Now I'm returning to fondle the balls. And that is Katsuki Bakugo from My Hero Academia.
Hey, I heard of that one, My Hero Academia before.
Yeah, look, maybe about an hour or so. Anyway, yeah,
De-
when this,
Deja vu.
but well, I do just want to take a moment and anyway, yeah. It speaks to the quality of My Hero Academia that I'm bringing it up twice in something that I very genuinely was trying to talk about all different characters instead of just picking one series and really, deep throating it. Um, but I love Bakugo because he's the perfect example of an asshole character that we come around to love. And you could say go, oh, what about Vegeta? Oh, what about this character? What about that character? No, fuck you. Bakugo is better, except for compared to maybe Zuko. There's an argument there, but we're not having that one right now. But
Future podcast.
future podcast, top redemption arcs in anime and media, but don't take a drink. But
Drink it.
the reason I love Bakugo is because that's it. They took this asshole character. They took what was really kind of a very bog standard anime rival in the sense that, he opposes the main character, and they use him not only as a tool to further Deku's growth, but they also give him quite a bit of his own character growth. Like the major point where it happens is basically some shit goes down, and uh, the protagonist's mentor, All Might, loses his powers as a result of a rescue operation to save Bakugo, who got captured by the villains. Um, and this tears him the fuck up. Like, he's legitimately torn apart that he thinks he caused, the death or the destruction of his hero. And it comes to a culmination in this really major fight between uh, Bakugo and the protagonist, Deku. And it, the way it was timed out, or the way the pacing came out in terms of the story, is right when we, really felt that Bakugo was being his most antagonistic, his most jerk ass, the worst possible version of his character. They turn that around and they give us the best version of this character. And it's worth pointing out that there's little hints of that seasoned throughout, the rest of My Hero Academia before they get to uh, Deku versus Bakugo uh, round two, um, because like he's very serious about being a hero. He's just an asshole, and we finally get this moment where we realize he is incredibly serious as about being a hero. He's as serious as the main character about wanting to be a hero, and we get that reveal, that peek behind the curtain, and it's just absolutely masterful writing. It's gorgeous. I love it. Yeah, watch My Hero Academia. Like, the shit is next level.
I'm definitely gonna have to check out this because after you give that segment off, damn near make me want to hop off this podcast and put it on right now.
Do it, man. Like, you're not going to be disappointed.
I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. I'll do that. I'll make sure I'll do that before Crosscode though.
Really? Really?
Dude, I swear to God, you keep pushing Crosscode on me, the further away it's gonna go.
If I could reach through this fucking microphone right now and strangle you. I'm playing Skyrim finally. You're not going to fucking. Come on.
Dude, come on! It took you 9 years to play Skyrim, motherfucker.
I
And
don't
I
have a
had to
good counter
buy it
argument.
for you. I had to buy Skyrim for you to play it.
It would have happened. It would have happened eventually. I swear.
And I'm sure it would happen. It'd happen eventually, just like a future podcast episode.
Let's face it, if I don't play Skyrim, then I can't be taken serious as a real critic. So I have to. I would have had to do it eventually. I swear.
Yeah. I swear. That is awesome. On that, folks, I think we're gonna wrap this episode up because we're dragging it along now. When me and John get rambling about nerd things just kind of go fast. We really hope here at J&A and Nerdborne that all of you are being safe. And I know this episode's been kind of long, but there is something that I do want to mention. On our previous episode, we talked about revolutionary games or standing point games, and one of my friends, coworkers, and fellow YouTuber, Ryan, had Astro Dad 89. He pointed out that we missed a game, GoldenEye 64.
Nah.
Yes, Yeah, we dropped the ball on that one because I don't think we would have any kind of multiplayer shooter if it wasn't for that game. So thank you for pointing that out, man. Really
Yeah,
appreciate that.
definitely.
Yeah, and like I said, if you guys have listened to this episode, and you hear any of us made any mistakes, like I told you, I am not a comic book expert. I'm a comic book enthusiast. A lot of these story arcs that I've talked about, it's been a while since I've read them. Don't be afraid to correct us. I have thick skin. You could say, "Hey, fat ass, you forgot this part." I'd be like, "Okay, good. I'll make sure I give a mention." Um, and very last and not least, we hope that you guys are being safe out there. The world's in
Mm.
chaotic mode. We hope that this gives you some much needed distraction, but we really hope that you guys are being safe.